Legends, welcome back to another team preview from the Ruck Infringement Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Joey, and joining me today is none other than Linc from the United in our Newcastle Knights team preview. Linc, how you been, mate?
Joey, I'm great, mate. 2025 is well and truly in the bin. We're looking forward, mate. 2026. I just can't believe, mate, you and I did this 12 months ago. Time flies, man. Truly.
Yep.
Absolutely crazy. But nah, mate, love coming on the Ruck Infringement Podcast, mate. Can't wait to sink our teeth into the Knights of 2026.
Mate, it is always our pleasure to have you on. We love watching United content. Of course, you're the most passionate Knights fan that I know. I know a couple, so it's great to see. Mate, let's get straight to some of your gains. Of course, one of the most talked about gain is probably that of Dylan Brown. Now, Dylan Brown, the caliber he brings from Parramatta, we know what he brings there, and he's an exciting prospect. I'm excited to see how Brown's combinations with firstly Ponga and then whether it's Sharp or Sandon, how that brews and how that goes. Mate, are you excited for Dylan Brown?
Oh, mate, absolutely. Yeah, to have a player of his caliber. Now, look, I know it's a huge contract and it's a huge gamble, but you know what? Fortune favors the bold. We saw the impeccable form that he brought in the Pacific Championships. He was robbed. I think there's a single person standing that watches rugby league football that doesn't believe that man should have won the Golden Boot. But look, it is what it is. He's coming in with impeccable form. Mate, he's hit that sweet spot. You know, we're not buying a young player that we're hoping has potential. We're not buying someone who's over the hill, who's had more, you know, he's got less games in front of him than he does behind him. You know, this guy is right in the sweet spot for those halves, coming into a ripe old age. Yeah, as you said, mate, the combination that we could be seeing between him and Kalen Ponga, like that left edge could be just a license to print points, mate. I'm so incredibly excited to see what he can do this Saturday, mate, against the Doggies in our trial match.
Mate, going to be fantastic. Of course, coming along with that pedigree, Sandon Smith comes from my mighty Chooks. He heads over to Newcastle as well. Look, a good player, a very good half. I thought he had a good season in 2025 for the Roosters. Be interesting to see if he starts, mate. Do you have any mail for us? Is he going to start over Sharp, or has Sharp got the nod?
I don't have any mail. It seems to be one of the most contentious points in rugby league is who is going to be the Newcastle Knights spine. But look, I'm with you. I thought Sandon played particularly well in that trial match. You got to remember, this guy only just came into the place, new coach, new systems. You know, he's got a new halves pairing there. I thought he did really, really well. And if I was a betting man, looking at what I saw from him against that game against the Dragons, he's claimed a pretty good stake to get that 7 jersey over in Vegas. But look, it's trials football, anything can happen. I've been belting the Fletcher Sharp to 7 drum for a while. It seems like there's more and more pundits getting on board of this now, but I got the receipts, Joey. I've been saying this for months, my man. He's just an out-and-out footballer. But I think the Justin Holbrook connection, obviously that Roosters connection probably plays in the Sandon's favor a little bit more as well. Seems to probably be what you would call a more an out-and-out 7, where Fletch would probably take a little bit of time to develop into that. But it's going to be interesting, mate. It's the old saying, iron sharpens iron, and you want selection migraines, mate. So whoever it is, I'm super excited, bud.
Yeah, mate, it's a great problem to have. Of course, the other big signing for the Knights is Trey Mooney. Now, you obviously lose Leo Thompson, but Trey Mooney, the raps on this kid when he was coming through the grades was incredible. Mate, are you excited to see what he can bring?
Absolutely. All throughout, Joey, all the shows I did last year, I'd always get the question every single week was, Linc, who's going to be the forward that lands in our lap? We lost Leo before the ball was even kicked off early to the Doggies. That deal was done. So there was always going to be this question mark around who's going to be the big guy. You know, we got Jay Saf there. We lost Daniel Saifidi to the Dolphins last season also. So there was definitely a vacated gap there. But, mate, I am so excited. It was only a little bit of a sneak peek from our boy Trey. I'm very keen to see what he can bring in the All-Stars game. But, mate, he was sensational. We honestly haven't had that kind of enforcer type of forward since we lost Mitchy Barnett to the Warriors.
Yeah.
We just haven't had that. We haven't had that dude. He's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder, a bit of swagger. I love it. I really do love it. I'm just glad, mate. Josh Papali'i, kudos to him for sticking around, because had he not have, the Raiders would have certainly loved to have kept Trey Mooney, but yeah, happy to take him.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of fringe players you have brought into the side, of course. Peter Holler comes from the Dolphins. Asu Kepoa comes from Penrith Panthers. And, of course, Pasami Solo from the Canberra Raiders. All right, let's have a look at the 2026 losses now. Jaden Brayley to the Raiders. Jack Cogger has gone to Penrith. Adam Elliott, a big one, to South Sydney. Good underrated signing for them. Jack Heverington to the Melbourne Storm. Kai Pearce-Paul, of course, is a big one, mate, to the Tigers. I think he'll do pretty well over there. But, mate, Leo Thompson, as you said, went to the Dogs early last year, was signed early last year. Mate, are you upset about it, or, greener pastures on the horizon?
Oh, look, mate, I'm not here to try and throw stones at our boy Leo. There was large portions of last season where statistically he wasn't great. And, he's a guy, a younger forward, and we don't know, in rugby league football, forwards generally take a little while. They're a bit of a late bloomer. Certainly got a huge ceiling. I think anyone's going to sit here and say that, there's a huge potential for Leo Thompson. But I think it might be a change as good as a holiday, and I think it kind of worked out for both parties. I'm really happy with Trey, to be honest. Would have been okay, great if we kept Leo, but I think it worked out well for both parties. We weren't getting the most out of him. Maybe under new coaching that might have changed, but who knows? But he was certainly the big one early. That one really stung to kick off the season. So, but yeah, great pickup for the Doggies though.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. Well, look, that's it for our gains and losses for 2026. Let's have a look at a 2025 review. I know you probably don't want to go through this, but we're going to go into it anyway. Mate, 2025 for the Newcastle Knights, of course, for those who may not follow rugby league or are listening for the first time, the Knights did finish, unfortunately, in the dreaded 17th position, minus 300 in for and against and 18 competition points. Now, Linc, as I said, you are the most passionate Knights man I know, and you are Mr. Positive. And I remember last year seeing all your posts, and I'm like, he's still so positive, and I love it. But, mate, take us through 2025. What happened to Newcastle? Where can they improve in 26?
It was how long you got, mate? Like, truly, I know people are going to say, like, I'm incredibly one-eyed here, but I can tell you now, Joey, had we not have lost KP to another freak Liz Frank injury, Dylan Lucas in the same fashion, and that freak accident that we saw with Fletcher Sharp, what did he do? Rupture his spleen or something, landing on the football. Just some freak accidents. Mate, our three most potent attacking football players for a huge chunk of the season. I'm not saying we're winning the comp, but I think we had enough in us to probably avoid the spoon. It was just a culmination, mate, of, unfortunately for Adam O'Brien, just too conservative. Way too conservative. I think, he spent over a decade with Craig Bellamy. Craig Bellamy's no slouch, as we all know. He's not going to keep people in the building if they don't know what they're doing. But I just feel like Adam O'Brien tried to bring that late 2000s, early 2010s grindy style of Melbourne Storm football to the Knights. And it just never, you cast your mind back to 2023. We were statistically the best attacking team in the comp. Like, just goes to show you how far we've regressed in 2 years. Like, we were unbelievable. And it just seemed like we're playing a bit more free-flowing football, and it was just way too rigid. All the jokes would be that the Knights don't contest high balls. Kai Pearce-Paul, mate, is just the poster boy of a player that's got so much talent that you don't lean into his abilities. We just stifled this poor guy, and he seemed like he was coaching the team he wanted. He didn't coach the team he had. And it just wasn't Newcastle brand football, and compounded with injuries, and it just spiraled out of control, mate. And we just didn't have any answers. Defensively, we were really good, Joey. Believe it or not, for how poor our attack was, our defensive system under Brian McDermott, we were the third or fourth best in the league up till probably nearly halfway through the season, which is pretty incredible considering our attack did us no favors. We're putting ourselves under all sorts of pressure, and to still have that higher ranked defense was amazing. So, yeah, just the attacking side of football was just way too predictable, pedestrian, boring, and ultimately, mate, when you suck out those great players that I mentioned earlier, there's just nothing left, mate. And it just that finals football carrot is that carrot's not dangled in front of you. I think a lot of motivation just got sucked out of that playing room, dude.
Yeah, mate. Look, it was hard viewing because I've got a real soft spot, and I think a lot of people have a soft spot for Newcastle because you want to see, a battler's town doing well, a town for the people. Obviously, I grew up on the Central Coast, so I know Newcastle quite well, and you want to see towns like that doing well. But it was sad to see, mate. Heading into 2026, what are you hopeful for this year? Obviously, I don't think you're going to be as bad. Towards the back end of the season, injuries beside. But mate, what are you hoping for this season?
And absolutely just blow up the playbook, all right? That attacking play, that the whole identity. Like, Joey, honestly, mate, if I was to sit there and ask you, what was the identity, what was the brand of attacking football under the Adam O'Brien era, a lot of people couldn't tell you. Like, there just didn't seem to be a DNA to our attack. I know it's an old rugby league trope, but it's true. There was just nothing. Mate, you could see it coming a mile away. It was so slow, boring, and predictable. No wonder coaches could just see it. They could read it like a book. I'm sure Justin Holbrook coming in. I know this is always said come this period of time, everything just seems glowing and perfect. But truly, a lot of stuff behind the scenes that, from what I've been told, wasn't happening under the Adam O'Brien regime is certainly happened. A lot more connection back to people and just little events, little venues they're turning up to, they're showing up, all those kind of things. I think Justin Holbrook, being an ex-Knights player, knows what it's about. Bringing Danny Medeiros into the coaching staff as well is an absolute bloody masterstroke. I just think it's a complete and utter reset of attacking football. And I think the culmination of bringing in a quality player like Dylan Brown in, and having guys like Lucas and Razor Sharp back in the squad, look, it's going to be a bit clunky. Like your Roosters, like I always use the 2018 Roosters as a prime example. When you had Cronk and Teddy come to town and everyone was, mate, the first month, oh my God, what have the Roosters done? It's horrible mistake. It's clunky. They look disjointed. Mate, they went on to win bloody back-to-back premierships. So look, I keep reiterating, I don't want my DMs to blow up if the Knights are playing pretty clunky in the first month. All right, I use the 2018 Roosters as a good example as to give it a bit of time, let it cook. All right, there's no pressure on Justin Holbrook at this point, but that's what I'm looking forward to, mate. It's just a bit of free-flowing football. And, when the Knights were playing at their best in our heyday and our glory years, that's what it was. So I'm sure that kind of DNA of football is going to come back in, dude, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And look, when KP's at his best and free flowing, like the kid's a freak. And we know what he possesses, the speed, the agility, even the strength. And I am really excited to see a full KP in full flight, just running through oppositions because it's a fantastic sight. Before he joins the Roosters. But, mate, let's jump into a bit of SuperCoach and NRL fantasy for 2026 for the Newcastle Knights. Now, the number one top Knights player in SuperCoach, of course, Dylan Lucas. Now, last year really came of age. I thought he had one of his best seasons so far in the NRL. Last year, I called the early prediction he'd probably play Origin. I reckon he'll be close this year if he doesn't land a bench spot. But he is 744K, second row. If you're playing SuperCoach and you're going a premium option, he's definitely a premium option. Get him in. Look, he'll get you the points. He was averaging 60, 70 points a game last year, and that's in a team that ran last. So when you look at it that way, he's a great option. He's premium, but he does cost a bit. So if you are looking to go with a cashy route, don't get him in. But if you're looking to get your points early, I would go Dylan Lucas. Mate, wraps on Dylan Lucas.
Oh, huge. As you said, mate, I did the early crow with Dylan Lucas to play Origin football. Yeah. He's just got it written. You can just close your eyes and you just see the bloke in a Blues jersey, just absolutely mowing down Maroons players, and particularly parked up on that left edge. Historically, the Knights, we love running points down that left edge. We know KP loves to sweep that side. He loves a right to left pass. When you got Bradman Best fit and firing at his best, doing what he's doing. Question marks, Greg Marzu, maybe Fletcher Sharp on that side of the wing. Irregardless, both of them at the peak of their powers. Look out. There's going to be so much time and space, whether he's going to get a late offload for some try assists or, mate, I keep saying it. I've got a foot fetish for Dylan Lucas. I think, without a doubt, the lightest feet of a big man you will ever see. Like that left foot step of his, mate, it's like Freddie Fittler. Seriously, the amount of times he's burnt blokes coming as an outside back into that second row, mate, he hasn't lost any footwork whatsoever. I love our boy Dylan Lucas.
Yeah, me too. I'm a big fan. It's a great option there. Fletcher Sharp is the second for Newcastle Knights, 5'8", 730K. Now, if he does get that halfback role that you're hoping he does, he will become dual position in SuperCoach, which is great. So you can play him at 5'8" or half. Unfortunately, at the moment, you can only pick him up at 5'8". Be interesting if he lands a wing spot too. He could get dual position there. But 730K, he's not a bad option. I'm going cheap to start the year in my 5'8", just because there's so many cheapies around. Jonah Pezzett is one that's in everyone's team at the moment, just because he's 230K and you're going to save 500K there and then hopefully make a bit of cash to upgrade to someone like a Sharp or a Cam Munster. But mate, obviously the pedigree's there. You love the kid, Razor Sharp as you call him. Mate, if he plays wing, do you still think he has the same impact as if he's in the halves?
Yeah, he's just an out-and-out footballer, mate. Like, he's just one of those guys that just adapts, and I've never watched a game of Fletcher Sharp, and this is talking like even coming through the grades. You just knew this guy was just, there's something about him. I've never watched a game of Fletcher Sharp, and he's just gone missing. It's just not in his DNA. He's always pushed up in support of uber quick player. Like, I was just so glad to see he was just moving so freely and so well in that first trial match against Dragons. Yeah. You just know if there's going to be a break, doesn't matter where it is. He could be on the other side of the wing and you've got Dominic Young making a break. You're going to have Razor there pushing in support. He just always seems to be sniffing around. And I think irregardless of probably where he plays, Justin Holbrook knows that. And I think he's going to have that little bit of a roaming loss. I think he's going to be kind of glued to one side. I think we'd be mad not to kind of lean into that. He's just a footballer's footballer, mate. And he'll just always have a crack and he'll always push up and support. So I'm with you, mate. I'm irregardless of where he plays, he's uber versatile. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot of SuperCoach players that'll be wanting to get Fletcher Sharp on their team.
Absolutely, and the dual position will make it even better. So let's hope he does land a wing spot because I'd love to get that dual. Moving down the list a little bit, a player I want to talk about who is dirt cheap in SuperCoach, hasn't been this cheap for a long time, Kalen Ponga. 607K, which for a fullback in SuperCoach is incredible. Reece Walsh is 850, Tedesco's 830. So you look at that and, he's in the same caliber, if not better than those boys. He's been around for a while and 250K less. So if you're looking for a fullback option and you're looking at a Kalen Ponga, he is coming off an injury. So do watch that in the first few rounds, of course. Maybe give him a couple of rounds to get in and then go, I'm pulling the trigger, getting on KP. You do get a flex position in SuperCoach, so technically you could hold 3 fullbacks instead of 2. So he's not a bad option to even have in your flex. He's going to play 80 minutes. His job security is 100%. No one's gunning for his job. Mate, KP, is he looking fit? Does he still have a bit to go? What's the go there?
Joey, I've never heard of a bigger bargain in my life.
Mate.
Get on that. Absolutely, mate. He's going to be reinvigorated. Unfortunately, played with injury, which really sucks. But they're they're not soft tissue injury. They're not those lingering type hammies. That kind. We're not in the Tom Trbojevic kind of areas. It's just Liz Franks. Like seriously, 12 months ago, if someone would ask me what the hell is a Liz Frank injury, I'm going, who the hell is Liz Frank? Just those bizarre kind of injuries, super unfortunate. Look, mate, he is so hungry. You bastards want your goddamn hands on him. He is so goddamn competitive. He wants to win. And Dylan Brown is our gift to him. We moved heaven and earth to get this guy because, for so long, even in that beautiful run through the concussion start season of 2023 to come through and win a Dally M and just literally light the world on fire. Come in, it was the KP show. Well, now you got Kalen Ponga and a golden boot winning Dylan Brown by his side. You know what I mean? It's just double
Yeah.
trouble, mate. Like, could you imagine just squaring up and you're looking up and here's Kalen Ponga and Dylan Brown coming at you? Like, good luck. The fact that Dylan Brown's in the club only elevates Kalen Ponga. Let's be honest, like, truly, Joe, not probably since Mitchell Pearce, who, came into the later part of his career, he hasn't played with anyone of that ilk at our club, since arriving in 2018. So, you're going to get a whole new Kalen Ponga. Trust me. So, get on that. Absolute steal. You're going to kick yourself. Truly. If you haven't gone and bought Kalen Ponga already, go do it. All right? Straight after the show, go buy Kalen Ponga.
Yeah, that's right, mate. I've already done it. I was doing it while you were talking. Fantastic option. Fantastic option, mate. That man I want to talk about next, Dylan Brown, now halfback. Wait till you hear this. He's even cheaper than Kalen Ponga.
Oh.
$535K. If you were looking for a halfback, now Nathan Cleary, this is the difference in price. Nathan Cleary is $890K. Nico Hines is $800K. Dylan Brown is $535K. He's going to be in the halves. Again, the job security is probably there. They wouldn't have paid him $1 million a season if the job security wasn't there. So you know what you're going to get. As you said, he probably had his best, arguably his best rep series when he was playing for New Zealand, arguably the Golden Boot. And I thought the back end of Parramatta's season, he was fantastic as well. Mate, another steal, Dylan Brown.
Mate, you hit the nail on the head. He is going to have his hand, like, he's here for a decade, mate. Like, the investment is there. It's not going to be a guy that they're going to go, we're going to try this. He is going to be the DNA of this club for the next 10. He is the guy. Like, there's never, not since Jason Taumalolo at the Cowboys have we seen a deal like this. So for a fact that man is going to have plenty of touches with the football at the right end of the field. 100%. Now, look, I understand there's going to be I get a lot of criticism saying, well, Dylan Brown only could do what he did because he was behind an absolute beast pack with the Kiwis. I understand that. I completely understand that. But as I was saying before, here's a guy that, historically, this age that he's going to be at, is 25 going on 26. This is the sweet spot. This is where they've got their game worked out. And, mate, how many times have we seen players go from this club to this club completely rejuvenated? I kept saying the money not only brings pressure, the criticism also brings motivation. So he's going to be uber motivated, mate. And I think, as I said before, with Kalen Ponga, those two together running an absolute muck, they just both level each other up, man. So what a bargain. I wish we got him at that price at the Knights. That would have been nice.
It would have been good, hey, $535. So definitely one to think about there. I want to move down the list to another man who's quite hot and heavy in the Supercoach world, Sandon Smith. Now, you get dual position here, 5'8" and hooker. So you can buy him at hooker, which is fantastic. $506K. In the scheme of things, if you don't play Supercoach, you do get $3 million. No, I think it's a bit more than that as your salary cap. So you do get quite a bit. So at $506K, not too bad for Sandon. For me, it's dependent where he plays. If they move him to 14, I can't buy him. If he's starting at half or if he's starting even at 9, I'm definitely interested. Mate, what do you think they're going to do with Sandon?
I can't see him being a 14. I think if Sandon's going to get a run, it's going to be at 7. I could see a world where maybe you could have someone like Fletch. I know if it's not going to be a wing, he's going to be a dangerous player coming in. Like kind of what we were hoping Pappy was going to be in Origin for us. Sniff around some tide in the ruck there. But I think if Sandon's going to get the gig, it's going to be 7. And as I said before, if I was a betting man, I reckon that's going to be it. I think he's got goal kicking upside. I don't know when I had Hainsey in here for the Ashes. I know he didn't have much luck on the weekend. We didn't do him any favors. He was kicking them all out wide. I think he only kicked like 1 from 5 or something. But from what he was telling me, he's generally a pretty clutch goal kicker in the past. When he was running around for your boys. So it seems like there's a bit of value there. I would be assuming he's going to be the guy given the keys, mate, in Vegas.
Yeah, look, he's definitely a great option as well if you're looking to get a cheaper hooker. So obviously your premium hooking options in Supercoach, Harry Grant is only $600K. So for almost $100K less, you can get Sandon at hooker, who's going to play in the halves and probably get you lots of points. So, look, it's not a bad option there. The next one I want to touch on, Trey Mooney now, 442K. He's in that mid-range, second row and front row, so you get dual position there for him. Look, we've spoken about him before. We're really excited to see what he brings. He's an absolute unit. He is priced really well too. I mean, if he's starting in your front row, which we're assuming he will be, I'm saying, what, 55, 60 minutes, you reckon?
Yeah, I think he's going to have quite a big motor on the guy. And, talk about it. Trey Mooney, people will look at his body of work and go, well, he hasn't played a lot of NRL games. Well, that's only because the Raiders are completely stacked. Like, they won the minor premiership. When you got guys like Joey Tarpanay, Josh Papali'i, Corey Horsburgh, that's going to be a pretty tough forward pack to try and crack into. So it's certainly not through lack of talent. This guy was ready. You can see why when an opportunity came and Josh Papali'i was going around again, this dude is ready. Like, and when he would have heard that the Knights have a spot open, well, you can see why he agitated to get out of the Raiders, because he's ready, man. Even as a young guy, what was he, under 19s, New South Wales captain? Yeah, he's got a big motor, mate. He looked enormous. I don't know if it was just the vertical stripes of our jersey. The guy seriously looked a foot taller and a foot wider. He was massive. As I said, I think he's going to be, you still got Jacob Saifidi. Jacob Saifidi's been a little bit up and down, but I could put it this way. If someone were to say to me by the end of the year, Trey Mooney is the alpha dog, the main man of the forward pack, I wouldn't be overly surprised. I know we're probably a little bit skint in the forward department, so he's going to be probably the tip of the spear for us. But, mate, I'm so excited. I love what I saw from that 20-25 minutes from the opening kickoff against the Dragons, and I said, cannot wait for him to rip and tear in that All-Stars game too.
Yeah, well, from what I know, I've got a few Raiders fans who watched him through Cup a lot, and they said that the kids are – he's a beast. He is ready for NRL. So, look, he's a great option. Very good mid-range option there in SuperCoach. The next man I want to touch on, Jermaine McEwen now. Second row, 407K. A lot of people had jumped on Jermaine, obviously with the news that Kai Pearce-Paul had signed for the Tigers. Jermaine was set to be the main man in the second row, but then had a bench role on the weekend. Does have an injury, so I wouldn't be starting with him just yet. I'd give him a couple of weeks, see how he goes after that little injury. But 407K, great mid option there. But the man I want to talk about is the man that's going to replace him, Thomas Kant. Now, second row, 377K. It's an absolute steal. If Thomas Kant has that starting role, I am very, very tempted to do this.
Tommy Cant. I'm so glad more and more people outside of night circles are learning the name Tommy Cant because, mate, amongst us battlers, he's beloved. He is just, look, it's no surprise after that trial match, bang, walks in the building, signs a contract extension to the end of 2028. He is just, mate, I close my eyes, and when I see Tommy Cant, I see like a Billy Peden. And for all the younger listeners, Billy Peden, dual premiership winner, absolute workhorse for the Newcastle Knights. Just always turned up, great defensively. He just ticks all the boxes. Tommy Cant. So I think he's going to be a guy, mate. I said it. I reckon he's going to have a real breakout season. I really do. He's got leadership qualities as well, captaining our cup side, coming through the ranks. He was a guy that, we look back on and gone, it's a matter of when, not if, this guy's going to break into first grade. So there's a really good one, mate. And I'm just stoked more and more of the rugby league ecosystem is aware of Tommy Cant, mate, because we surely know what we got with him.
I heard he's not a bad goal kicker too for a second rower. Bit of a Corey Parker.
Sneaky good, mate. So keep that. Yeah, there's a little bit more value for the SuperCoach ones there. Yeah, sneaky 100%. Good goal kicker. Bloody oath.
100%. Yeah, if he gets the nod there. We'll move down to a couple of cheap options before we finish up SuperCoach. Now, one I want to talk about, he's been going around for a while, Connor Vitano. Now, I really love this young kid, fullback. He is 235K. We obviously don't think he's going to get the nod over KP, but look, he's probably one injury away. I mean, Fletcher Hunt's there as well, maybe one or two injuries away, but Connor Vitano at 235, he is cheap as chips. Obviously, one to put on your watch list if you are playing SuperCoach. Leave him there, get him ready in case there are some injuries. The other young player I wanted to touch on is, I wouldn't say young player. I mean, he's played for the club already, but Matt Arthur. Now he's hooker, 235K. Now, again, we never know what's really going on with that hooking role. Obviously, Crosland probably has the role. Does Matt Arthur land the 14? Does who else did you have? I think he's the main one, isn't he? Oh, Harrison Graham, sorry, came over from the Dolphins. Does he land the 14? Who goes there? If Matt Arthur gets it at 235K again, he's going to make you cash. He's going to make you cash either way, even if he's off the bench, because he's so cheap that even if he gets 1 or 2 points, his party's break even. His break even will be in the negatives. So you're already going to make cash. So not some bad options there to think about. But that is the Newcastle Knights players for SuperCoach. Remember, I'm not an expert. This is just a game, so don't come at us with Dylan Brown didn't score 50 this week or whatever it is. We're just giving you some ideas, some tips for 2026. Don't forget to check out our Ruck Infringement Podcast Cup comp that is running. You can use the code 693809. I'll drop it in the description. We also have NRL Fantasy running as well. We'd like to thank our good friends at SC Rings, the best championship rings going around. We recently had the Super Bowl. They look like that, but better. A bit lighter as well. So you can get yourself a championship ring. It says SuperCoach 2026 champion on it, and you'll be the envy of all your mates. All right, let's jump into some players to watch for 2026. Now, I'm excited because I know your pedigree, Linc, and I know you've got some good players for us, mate. Who are some players to watch for the Knights this season?
Some players to watch for the Newcastle Knights. A guy that I'm going to circle back quickly, Jermaine McEwen. Remember the name. That guy, uber high ceiling. I don't know what they drink in the McEwen household, mate. His sister is an absolute gun as well, Eva. But yeah, mate, tremendous upside. I know Kai Pearce-Paul. I think we're playing a bit of money ball situation here. He was on a pretty hefty contract. I think it was about $850. We brought him over from the Super League on, so big money. So, but look, parked up on that right edge there. He's still got Gags on his outside. I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities. He was a guy that very green, but there were some instances when I was watching Jermaine McEwen, and it strikes me. I love it when I see young guys just back themselves a bit. And there was a couple of instances where the Knights, when he was actually parked on the left edge in these games, and that you could tell they just wanted to shuffle the ball out right, but he saw something and he backed himself, a little kick or something. It might have come off a couple of times. It did, but it didn't. But that's okay. I don't mind that. I don't mind a guy. It tells me there's a confident player in there that's going to back themselves. So keep an eye on Jermaine. I think like we were saying about Tommy Cant, Jermaine McEwen is going to be a household name very soon. Guy's super, super talented. Another guy who's been slept on is James Schiller. Now, James Schiller had a really good outing against the Dragons. I'll tell your listeners now, I'm not sure there is a man who, for his size, is as strong as James Schiller. He is so incredibly strong, and all the Raiders supporters will know this. A tackle breaker. I think it was up until Joey, the last rounds of the game, and the guy played like 5 or 6 less games than some of the other players, and he was like in the top 5 tackle breakers in the comp. Like he is astounding. Adam O'Brien did him no favors. We played a game. We put him on the left wing, and it just was fucking horrible. Shifted him back to the right. It was all muddled up. But we got James at the end of the 24 season. 23 season. So we've had him for a while. But when you got guys like Dan Gagai and Bradman Best in the building, it's going to be hard to try and get in there. But if there's an injury in around there, I reckon James is ready to go, man. That he is a bloody good footballer. James Schiller. Another one I would be keeping a very close eye on. As I'm running over our squad, I'm trying to pick ones here. I'm not going to be too obvious.
I love it.
Oh, he's going to be a guy. I reckon this is going to be the first time people have heard the name. Francis Manu Leilua. All right. Ooh. Remember the name. Now, I was sorry to name drop, DMing Kai Pearce-Paul, still a huge fan of the show, Kai. He was telling me this guy is the real deal. And going back, I know, talking, high school coaches right through gate. He was a bit of a union guy, converted over. this guy is super talented. Kai Pierce-Paul could not speak, like literally went out of his way to tell me about him. So like, all right, this guy is on my radar. So, and I said, you got Jermaine McHugh and Dylan Lucas. Well, there's another young pup in and around that mix as well. And people are going, who the hell's this bloke? He did trial. He's going to be very, very green, but remember the name, Francis Manu-Lalua. Let's go with a big bopper, mate. I'll give you one last big boy who was very impressive, Elijah Salese La Moana as well. Another guy that's come through our ranks. Got a little bit of game time, got a few games at the back end of last year. Look, again, thrown into the deep end. Like, let's be honest. I don't know what anyone was kind of expecting to see, but look, in a rejuvenated night spine, another preseason under his belt, and then you got guys like Trey Mooney and Frizz and JSAF. Hopefully they're all fit, fire, and ready to go. A young Elijah coming off the bench could be quite damaging. So there's a couple of little smokies for your battlers that just keep your eyes on. Yeah.
Mate, there's some great shouts. One that I want to talk about, and I think I mentioned him last year when we did our review as well, but Bradman Best. I just love this guy. I just love what he brings. And I know, look, he'd probably agree 2025 probably wasn't his best season as a whole, but I can just see 2026, him on that left side, he is just going to be absolutely rejuvenated. And I've always been a big fan of him. I don't know if it's the leg tattoo that gets me going, but I've just been a massive fan of Bradman for a long time, and I'm gonna double down with it. I'm gonna back him in for a big year. He'll play Origin again, I reckon, for sure. He is just such a talent, and you know, as we talked about, depending who's playing on the left, like it's going to be so strong. And if you can get Dylan Lucas to a steaming Bradman Best, I mean. Watch out. Yeah. Watch out oppositions there.
Mate, he's such a big game player. And I know I got roasted. I was saying here with Hainsey, I was shocked that Gemart Shibasaki kept getting picked in the Australian team. He didn't light the world on fire. I know it wasn't a great campaign and we didn't have great opposition, but I thought for sure Bradman should have got a run at least in one game. Because every time Freddie picked him in Origin, mate, he carved them up. Yeah. You can't tell me every time Bradman Best played Origin football, he wasn't a difference maker. Like, he had huge highlights, either setting up try, scoring them, putting huge pressure on Daly Cherry Evans. Like, he's a big game player. He's that kind of a guy. Sure. So, mate, I'm with you. Hopefully he stays, historically he's had some hamstring issues and that prior to that huge season that got him into the Origin arena. So yeah, I'm with you, mate. If he stays fit, firing, I'm telling you, the best specialized left center in the game. Left arm carry, mate, it's just a thing of beauty.
It'll be great to see. All right, now what people have come for, mate, the ladder finish for 2026. Where, I mean, look, it's only up from here. Where are your Knights going to finish in season 2026?
Do you want the answer from my head or from my heart? Because they're very different.
Give us both. Come on.
My heart is telling me, and I think everyone, I don't think you're a real rugby league supporter. If deep down in your heart, you'll think your team can at least get to the finals football. They can at least get to the top end of the table. Look, stranger things have happened. I can just hear it now. You got all these listeners laughing at me going, Linc, you're an absolute idiot. I might be an idiot. I might be sitting here 12 months from now going, whatever, eggs on my face, dare to dream. But, stranger things have happened in rugby league football. I think 7th, 8th would be an absolutely, overwhelming success. That's where my heart is saying, that's where we're going to be at the end of the year. My head, look, certainly we're going to avoid bottom 4. We're absolutely going to avoid the bottom 4. I think a first year under Justin Holbrook, a very much revamped, rejuvenated spine, maybe trying to get 1 or 2 more forwards, developing in some younger guys. If we can get in around that 10 to 9, put it this way, we'll be watching football in August and still thinking there's a bit of hope. I don't want to be that team that, it's getting to the latter part of the year and you just know there's no hope, I think, looking back at Justin Holbrook's work, he did it with the Titans, came in, immediately moved him. It's not the first time he's walked into a club that's come from the bottom. He did some really good things. I think even a lot of Titan supporters are still dirty. I think we're all still confused why they got rid of the guy. I think he's a great coach. Obviously your time at the Roosters there, you guys certainly know how to pick great coaches. So I think he knows what he's walking to. He's got that connection, being an ex-Knights player as well. Just the people he's brought into the club as well, a fresh new coaching staff. I think it's going to be good. I think it might be a slow burn, and people are, going to be a bit disappointed. But I think if it can click, put it this way, mate. If the Knights really can click together, we got players on this team that can score points. So look out. So absolute worst case, I'm going to go 10th, mate. Yeah.
Mate, I love it. I love it. Just to touch on stranger things have happened. Look, I take you back to Roosters 2012, finished 13th under Brian Smith. Robinson took over 2013. We signed James Maloney, Michael Jennings, Sonny Bill Williams, Luke O'Donnell. Everyone went, the combinations won't work. Finished first, minor premiers, and won the comp. So, those things can happen. A couple of new signings, and who knows? Who knows what the Knights can produce? Well, I've got you 12th. I've got you finishing 12th. I don't have you getting the spoon at all. People who are still telling me that Knights are going to get the spoon, I actually think are pretty crazy, because I just think, as we spoke about, the caliber of Dylan Brown, I don't think he's going to let that happen. And Kalen Ponga, we know if he is fit, he's not going to let it happen either. So I've got you finishing 12. I think it's going to be a vastly improved year. And it takes time. Sometimes these things take time. A new coach isn't going to bring instant success. Look at the Dogs with Serrato. They were 15th, then they were 6th, then they were 3rd. So these things take a couple of years. The Knights might be 12th this year, then they might be 8th, and they might be 4th. We just don't know. So, yeah, I've got you finishing 12th, mate.
I'll take it, mate. I'll take that. I think, given where we've come from, I'm with you. There's no way. It would take another really bad injury toll for us to be completely, depleted of halves for the to go, shit, okay, we might be back in that boat, but you're right. If we can keep a pretty healthy, our main players, that spine going and whatnot, there's just too many points in us, mate. Yeah, there's high caliber 100%. Players there, so yeah, we'll avoid that, dude, for sure.
100%. All right, mate. It's time for our last words. Now, this is your chance to shine. I want you to fire up the fans for 2026, mate. Get them going.
Well, Joey, now look, the stars have aligned. The rugby league gods have given the Newcastle Knights, us battlers, a gift, and that gift is going to Vegas. What better way, honestly, to leave that absolute crap year of 2025 behind us than to jet to the other side of the world, party central, forget all about it, new coach, our $13 million man, Kalen Ponga's back, Razor Sharp's back, Dylan Lucas is back, Trey Mooney's in the building. Let's go. Seriously. The perfect way, mate. We're not going to wallow in self-pity anymore. That reset button has just been smashed. It's a new era. It's the Brown era, mate, and we're all excited for it. Keep saying to people that doubt it, there's no point doubting it, baby. He's here for 10 years. Don't live 10 years in denial and shame and anger. Just jump on the bandwagon, baby. It's so good. We saw what Dylan Brown brought for the Kiwis. I'll tell you what, it's going to be more interesting. If KP does convert over to the Kiwis, well, we got three quarters, of the Kiwi spine. Look, how good's that? Look, Justin Holbrook, I think, is going to bring success to this club. I think he is going to be the guy that brings us back to where we are. I just feel it in my waters, mate. I feel it in my rugby league waters. It's going to be the guy. It's going to be a good year. We're going to be in more games. We're going to be in more games. We're not going to give up. I'm so excited, mate. I can't even remember 2025, mate. It's seriously in the rear vision mirror. It's in the fucking bin. Bring on Vegas. Can't wait. Fly out in 10 days or something like that. The awesome. Rip and tear over there, mate. Cannot wait. So everyone else should be pumped as well.
Mate, I think I just became a Knights fan. That's incredible.
Good. You're signed, mate. We'll give you a 10-year deal. Starting tomorrow.
The hairs on my arm, you can't see, but they're just sticking out, mate.
Mate, book your Vegas tickets, baby. You're coming with me.
How good. Look, if I had any last words for Knights fans, get down to McDonald Jones Stadium this year. Support your club. Get around it, because the best thing the players can have is a full home ground. So get down there, support your club, get under the Knights this year, and look, go the Knights. Hopefully it's a better year than 2025. Put it behind them and let's go. How good. All right, mate, that is all we have time for our team preview for this week on the Ruck and Fringe podcast. thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. Thank you to Linc from the United. Go and check out the United on all social media as well. Fantastic little podcast that Linc does and some live videos as well. Check it out. He's going to Vegas, so it's going to be very, very exciting. I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, The Corner Post, best sports store going around. Jeez, Westfield, Liverpool, I was trying to say. Head over there, check them out. They are incredible. All your retro jerseys, all your current jerseys as well. So that is The Corner Post, Westfield, Liverpool. Until next time, I'm Joey. That's Linc. Be good.